I don't have to stop. We're back. My name is Colin Bowyer from LMIH, and here we are. It's been a while. We're here to record another podcast for the 4 Mark Supercar Club. And no surprises, I'm back with Greg. How you doing, Greg?
Good evening, sire. How are you?
I'm good.
We're back in the temple.
The temple. We affectionately call it the dimly lit studio, though it's not that dim.
In the deepest, darkest depths of Oak Hall Manor. Is that what it's called?
You call my place whatever you like. It's not that,
isn't it?
But that's not why we're here.
Okay.
We had a chat.
Why are we here?
And we are here to talk about a particular car, a particularly special car, which was your idea. You'll take the credit for that. We're going to talk about the Ferrari F80. Ooh. And on my screen to my right, we've got a few pictures of it, just for reference, which I think is good.
Hopefully the listeners probably already know pretty much what it looks like. But if they don't...
Hit pause.
Yeah, hit pause. Or whilst
Google.
You're listening, just bring it up, because it's a pretty sensational looking motor car, isn't it? It's
we just Googled it, and most of them are surprised. Red. There's a white one there and a few yellow ones. On face value, I think it is pretty special. I like it a lot. But as we've all been there before, when you get to our age, well, my age, we first see a picture of a car before we see it in real life. And that can change a lot when it comes to your thoughts and views about it.
Actually, that didn't happen for you and me, did it? Funny enough.
No, there's
a story there, isn't there? Because
Go on.
Should we do that? Just because that's a fun story. And it's quite a cool story as well. Is Colin and I and a few other team members from the club were invited over to Maranello to drive a Ferrari through the Maranello Hills. And needless to say, we jumped at the chance of that. Yeah, Ferrari Roma, Spider, roof down. And we're driving along.
Wonderful.
Colin's in a car. I'm in a different car. I'm driving. He's driving. And this car comes the other way. I mean, the shape, the width, and the height of it. It was a very short car, very wide, coming towards us. It looked white until it got closer, and then you realised it was covered in camo.
Camo, yeah.
And the Ferrari test driver that was the passenger in my car. I said, "Oh, hang on, that's the new LaFerrari replacement, isn't it?" Anyway, he changed the subject very quickly, and he didn't really want to talk about it. But yes, we saw that actual car drive past us.
And when that was last year?
That was June, and it wasn't released until October. So we got a little sneak peek there, didn't we?
It was a moment, yeah.
But you're right. The vast majority of the time, you'd see the car in pictures first, and then you'd see it in the flesh, wouldn't you? And that's two different experiences, really.
It is, but I like what I see so far. Anyway, why are we talking about
Why have
this
we
car?
picked that?
Yeah.
Well, for a couple of reasons. One, Ferrari is the second most numerous marque in our club. We've got almost more Ferraris than anything else, but of course Porsche manages to take the crown overall. It's one of the new round of halo cars, or Holy Trinity cars. Obviously we had the LAF, we had the 918 Spider Porsche, and we had the McLaren P1. So McLaren and Ferrari have brought out their replacements, but Porsche have kept quiet for the minute. Are they making one? We don't know. But anyway, we thought we'd pick the Ferrari just because, it looks after the biggest audience in our club member base. So we thought we'd have a chat about it. And it's quite an interesting car because it's very different from the LAF in lots of ways. Looks, the drivetrain, the price tag. It's come up in a lot of conversations, and I think people would be interested to hear a little bit about it and see if you agree with what we think.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a bit of tech spec and sort of a bit of the data and stuff. But why is the F80 such a special car? What's the significance of it?
Yeah, well, Ferrari have made over the years what they call, I'm sure they could have come up with a better name than this actually, but they call them their periodical supercars.
Which probably sounds better in Italian.
Yes, we should look that up, shouldn't we? We wonder what that is in Italian. But what they wanted to do was showcase their current technology. What's the bleeding edge that can be capable in a supercar at that time, and then really showcase it. And this all started way back in the 80s, didn't it, with the F40,
of course,
which was launched in 1987, I think. F40 being 40 years of Ferrari producing road cars.
So the F80 is, hang on, let me figure it out. Yeah.
Do you want me to get a calculator out of the way?
No, I'm all right.
You okay?
Yeah, you go for it.
But yes, they were bringing out cars roughly every 10 years. Sometimes it was 7 years, sometimes 8 years. I think there was one where there was a gap of 12 years, I think. But anyway, roughly every 10 years they were bringing out a special car, and obviously it was time to bring out the next one with the outbound LaFerrari being launched in 2013. So, slightly late. I was thinking it was 2014, the LAF, but no, 2013 it was launched. So, 11 years since that. But I think the one thing that everyone talks about is the looks. Is it as beautiful as a LaFerrari?
Well, again, looking at these pictures in front of us, there's a hint of cylindry and Daytona at the front. That's, if I may just state the bloody obvious. I think, looking at each corner, I think it's a great looking car.
I think it's a good looking car. And I think the LaFerrari is prettier.
This is a bit more...
Does that make this not a great looking car just because it's not as pretty?
Well,
I think it's more angry looking, isn't it?
Yes, that's a good word. A lot more maybe muscular rather than the lines
rather than pretty.
It's nice. And interestingly, again, the inside. Where did we talk about? Jump onto that just for a moment.
Yeah, inside they've done something. I was going to say they've tried to do something, but they have done something different inside.
Well, originally it was going to be a single-seater. I read somewhere
that that right?
Was the plan of attack. Yeah. And then they stretched that a bit, and this is, I think they officially refer to this as a 1+.
A 1+.
Yes.
Okay, so it's got a proper driver's seat, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas the passenger side is more. It's a supplementary. Molded. You could sit in it, but it's not a proper seat per se.
No, it certainly puts again, the focus is all about the driver, isn't it?
Yes.
When you look at the console, there's nothing in the middle there that can be shared with the passenger. It's very driver focused with the angles of what is the center console is all pointing at the driver.
Which makes sense. I'm guessing a lot of the time the car is going to be just the driver inside it.
That's what but that is quite unique. I don't know whether Ferrari have done anything like that before for a road car as such.
No, I can't think that they have. I mean, obviously McLaren were renowned for making the single central seat in the F1, but even they dropped that, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, it's a balance, isn't it, of something in it for everyone. That's one way of putting it.
So going back to the outside design for a second, the other interesting thing, which I know Ferrari, they're sort of damned if they do, damned if they don't. Another thing that they've gone back to, having lost it for a few cars now, is a rear spoiler.
Yeah, and quite a meaty one it is too. When you look at that,
that's in its fully raised position. That's definitely
got aero braking. Do we know?
It definitely has.
Yeah,
it definitely has.
Doesn't it?
But that is the full-on Viagra mode, that one.
Yeah.
So yes, they had it on the F40, they had it on the F50, but then they dropped it for the Enzo and the LAF, didn't they? But it's back, but it's active. So yeah, when it's stationary, it doesn't look like it does have a rear spoiler, but when it goes up, it's substantial.
Yeah, it looks great. Can't wait to stand next.
I think it looks more race car than the LAF.
It does.
It looks like a GT, like a Le Mans GT car, I think.
And that is, again, undoubtedly intentional for what they're looking to achieve this time around.
Yeah.
Maybe they think, right, the LaFerrari style and design, we need to go a little bit more aggressive. That's right.
So they've gone more aggressive and more muscular visually.
Yeah.
But they've dropped the V12 in favour of the V6.
Twin turbo, of course.
Twin turbo. Hybrid, yeah. The LAF was hybrid.
Okay.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
It's not something that comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that comes up very often, actually. But the Ferrari have been making hybrid sports cars for over a decade. Yeah. And whereas a lot of other manufacturers, they're only just starting to put hybrid tech in now. So again, it's interesting that Ferrari were doing that over a decade ago. Mm. But I think the P1 did as well.
Okay. The
McLaren P1. And of course the Porsche 918. I think they all had hybrid tech to enhance the horsepower.
And there's 3 electric motors in this car.
Is there? I didn't know that.
Yeah. 1 each for the front wheel and something for the back with the engine. So I think you get 900 horsepower at the engine and then 300, give or take.
Yes, making 1,200 in total.
Yeah.
Which is a lot for a road car, isn't it?
That's 0 to 62 in 2.3 seconds.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd written down some notes about that. I've got it down as 2.1 seconds. Interesting.
Well, that's the way you drive. I mean, you're always going to be that big.
Do you think I could squeeze an extra couple of tenths?
Yeah, it was a different website. So it's impressive.
Yeah, and it's half a second. According to my stats, it's half a second quicker to 62 than the outbound LAF. So, is it going to sound as good as a V12 LaFerrari screaming down the road? Probably not, but it's probably a chunk lighter engine-wise because of it. And if they hadn't done that with the batteries as well, that it would have been a heavy car, wouldn't it?
And why did it go down this road instead of the big engine, the big V12?
Well, I imagine emissions are probably playing a part. As I say, I imagine that keeping the car light.
A bit of homework I did. It was to follow their successes in Formula One.
Yes,
it's an obvious.
Yes, you're right. If you read the Ferrari website, it does say that because the Formula One engines have gone that way, that's what they should be doing in their road cars.
Yeah,
but I think you'll find
which makes sense.
It's more than that. I'm sure it's to do with emissions and
indeed,
and lightness.
Yeah, there's one thing we haven't mentioned yet when it comes to stats is the price tag. Deep breath. Sit down.
Yes. Okay. So the LAF was about 850,000 when it came out.
Cheap.
Which was a lot of money for a car,
of course,
back in 2013. A serious amount of car, and people. Would you, Mr. Bowyer, would you like to take one of these?
Yes.
LaFerraris, it's going to cost you £850,000. There wasn't anything else out there like that.
No.
I mean, that was a serious risk for people at 850.
Yeah.
But
this one,
it's
a whole new level.
3.1 million.
Gulp. That's incredible.
Now, I think I know what's going on here, and I couldn't get my head around it at all to start with. I was thinking, how does that work? Because if you were lucky enough to be given the opportunity to buy a LAF and you had the kahunas to actually go and spend the money, in a couple of years, you probably would have doubled your money.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know that when you're going in.
No, of course.
The dealer apparently used to say, we'll give you your money back. You can keep the car for 2 years, 2 or 3 years, and we'll give you every single penny back. Now, from a risk point of view, that really sounds attractive, isn't it? Enjoy, Ferrari's ultimate car for 2 or 3 years, hand it back, get all of your money back. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
The reason you wouldn't do that is because your friends down the road at the local independent supercar retailer would give you double that.
Of course they would, because they know what they're going to do.
So I think, I couldn't get my head around it, and I was talking to a few people about it, and it became clear that Joe Bloggs doubles his money on this Ferrari, okay? He's made more money on this car than Ferrari have.
Yes, which Okay.
And when he said that to me, I thought, actually, that is a good point, isn't it? Why should Joe Bloggs be making more money from the production of this car than the manufacturer?
Yeah.
And I suspect Ferrari have been thinking about that and thinking, well, there's something not right going on here. We should be selling that for 2 million rather than selling it for 1 and people doubling the money.
Yeah. And that's what they've done, do you think? This time?
I think that has played a part to play in it, and I don't blame Ferrari for that, actually. I think they're the ones that created, they're the ones that have invested all the time, energy and R&D into it. They should be making the lion's share of the money.
Yeah.
The only thing is, have they or have they not gone too far the other way? Well, so you can have a LaFerrari, and in a couple of years you've doubled your money.
How many of the LaFerraris did they make?
So they made, I think it's 499 units plus another 200 Apertas, which is the lift-off roof version.
Oh, okay. And this is 799 F80s they're making.
Yeah, but it's not that much. Not that. If you include the Apertas in the LaFerrari, it's not that much more, is it?
No.
So, yeah, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, they're making a whole load of other units, but I did a bit of research, and it doesn't look like they're going to do an open cockpit version. And if that's true, 799 total units isn't that different, is it, to the LAF?
No.
Which was just under 700. So it's only 100 more worldwide. But is that car going to be worth 6 million in 2 years? Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
That's a lot for a car, though, isn't it? A lot for a road car.
Yeah.
So people have got to buy that because they want it, not because they want the investment.
Well, again,
I would have thought.
Yes, and that brings us on to the other point of who's allowed or invited to buy one. Obviously, state the blooming obvious, you're going to have a pretty impressive track record of Ferrari ownership.
I suspect you'd have to have had a lot of cars. A lot of the cars they want you to have that they want to get registered.
Yeah.
And I suspect you'd also have had to have taken the risk on some of the more expensive special cars.
Yes, and looked after them in a way Ferrari would like you to. Does that have a relevance? You talked earlier on about selling the LaFerrari back to Ferrari.
No, you're right. That's a major part, actually.
Rules around ownership and disposal of.
Yes, they do not like you selling their cars outside of their network, so they want the cars back, and I think they're pretty serious about it now. I think you sign a contract. I think you have to sign a contract now that the car will go back to them.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're not going to get another car.
Yeah. And again, somebody who owns a car like this undoubtedly has a sizable collection of cars, no doubt, which has a relevance. This isn't going to be your weekender, is it?
No, we should come back to that, because that it isn't going to be a weekender, is it? And I want to talk about that in a bit more detail. But before we do, I think we should just explore the fact that, like your original question was, how does one get invited to buy that car? And I think you have to buy a lot of cars. Some of those you'll get your money back, and I'm guessing a whole bunch of those you won't get all of your money back. But I'm guessing a lot of the people that are listening today probably already know how it all works. But you might have to buy a Roma, you might have to buy a Pura Sangue, and maybe a 296. All of which there is the scope of you losing 100 grand on each of those.
That's the way it is.
That's the way it is. Yeah. But if you buy 5 cars and lose 100,000 on each, that's 500,000. In the old days, it was still worth wasting £500,000 on depreciation on cars that you didn't want to get the LaFerrari that you're going to make $1 million on. Million less the 500,000 cost, you've still made £500,000.
Yeah. Because obviously relevant is another important element is I want a Ferrari, I want to own one, I want to use the car because I love them, as opposed to second in the list is that the money factor, the money element for those who can afford these cars, maybe it just isn't about the money. I want a Ferrari, I want this, I want that.
Well, I do think that the vast majority of these cars, if not every single one of them, will go into static collections.
Yes.
Can you drive a £4 million? Sorry, £3.1 million car on the road?
I was going to say carefully, but that's not the point in owning one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, certainly on the road, as we all.
You'd be
know.
extremely nervous driving that down the road, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, in more recent times, with the odd F40 going off the road and being.
Yes, there's been a couple of vids, hasn't there, recently, where two F40s
one was
crashed within a week.
A technician. It wasn't going that fast, but it was enough to flip it over, and actually maybe wrecked it, but I'm sure it got rebuilt. And then the other one was owned by who was it? One of the
F1 drivers, wasn't it? Yeah, was it Charles Leclerc?
Yes.
Or was it the other one?
Yeah, just managed to.
Go on. What
knack of the back.
Who's the other? Who's the other driver? Not anymore, of course, but there's Charles Leclerc and
what owner of a?
No, the other F1 driver. Obviously, Lewis has replaced one of them, but I'm not into F1 enough to know what the other guy's name was. Can you think? No. Anyway, but actually, F40. That's another interesting car because they'd planned to only make 400 of those. Did you know this? Do you know this story? So they planned to make 400, but I've got a feeling that they made 1,300 of them in the end.
God, yeah, that rings a bell. Well,
so
it's whether they do
considerably more than the F80. People are saying, "Oh, well, the F80 is not. It's not limited numbers. There's 800 of them, but the F40 is knocking on the door of twice that."
Yeah, can't wait to see one in real life. I wonder when that'll be.
Well, will you? I mean, I guess they will be trailered to shows and things, so we will get to see them up close. But
yeah, I suppose you won't know. Of the 799, how many are heading to the UK and rest of the world and whatever?
Can you remember the names of all of the special cars that they made? Starting with the F40, can you, in order?
Of course not. But you look
go on.
like...
Go on. No, go on. I want you to have a go.
F40? F50?
Yeah. F60.
Is it an F60?
No. Well, there is.
Nice try.
There is, but they didn't call it the F60. What did they call it?
Don't know.
Enzo.
Of course. Come on, it's nearly my bedtime, putting a spot on that. Yeah.
I know. And what did they replace the Enzo with?
That wasn't the LaFerrari.
So that'd be the F70.
You're just making
But they didn't call it the F70. They called it the LaFerrari.
There you go. Yes, I thought that was.
So that's the timeline. So then that was the F70 that they didn't call the F70, and then the F80 is what we've got now. Yeah. So they decided not to carry on the name and went back to the F for the name.
Wonder what the F90 will look like. Where they go with that.
But yeah, we've got another decade, haven't we, to wait for that.
Well, I wonder whether it's kind of on the drawing board already. I don't know how far ahead these things are pondered by design and. The odd clay model.
I think because they're showcasing the current tech, 10 years is a long time in.
Good point.
In tech
from that point of view, but obviously,
will there be an engine in the F90?
Yeah, and what will power it?
I mean, to be honest, regardless of what happens, surely it's unlikely to have a internal combustion engine in it.
You say that,
10 years is a long time, but it is also not that long.
A
decade goes pretty quick, doesn't it?
I'm not playing that game. Yeah, but I know you mean. Yeah, certainly in car world. But no.
So what do you think then? Come on, what do you know the LaFerrari enough to comment on whether you prefer the look of this car or?
I do.
You know it.
I like both, but they are very different by design and style.
It looks like it's quite a bit bigger than the LaFerrari.
It does, doesn't it?
But obviously, it's difficult to know, really, isn't it, until you see it to scale.
Yeah. No back window. For your camera, I'm sure. But,
I noticed they're calling it the 2025 F80, whilst it was launched or revealed in 2024. deliveries won't be till this year, obviously.
It looks very cool inside. I like, again, very driver focused in all respects. So I think the passenger seat is slightly set back as well. It's not.
Yes, I think you're right.
It looks like it's a little bit behind, again, for all the right reasons. That's quite a good pick. But the passenger seat looks just like moulded interior bodywork.
Yes, it just looks like the interior of the car, like you say, covered in Alcantara. But another interesting stat I found out is that they're all going to be left-hand drive.
Kind of makes sense.
Does it?
Does it?
No, that means that 799 are going to have the steering wheel on the wrong side. Aren't they?
So you say, yeah.
And again, you're thinking this is a £3.1 million car. You imagine driving that left-hand drive in the UK.
Yeah. You need a good lookout in the passenger seat.
Yeah, I just think it's too risky.
Yeah, it's not like.
I hope people will drive them, but yeah, we're talking, chunky amount of money, a lot more than a Bugatti and things like that. Yeah. So you do see Bugattis driving around, don't you? But I don't know. We'll see.
Next thing is wait to see one in real life. There you go.
Yeah, it would be good to have a proper look around. But, looking at some of the previous models, how often have you got to sit in a Ferrari F50, for example?
Let me
count on one hand.
Yeah, not even one hand.
So the opportunity doesn't come up very often. I did get to sit in a LaFerrari.
Okay.
One of our club members used to have one, so I did get to sit in that and feel what that felt like. And yeah, it's incredible. When you open the door, half the car comes with the door.
The sort of.
So it really does reveal the monocoque of the car when you lift the door up.
Yeah, which is interesting because obviously the doors are similar here.
So we're now looking at photos.
Of one with the doors open.
With the doors open, and it's similar in respect that half the sill is missing because it comes up with the door.
There's less sill to climb over to get in the car.
Yes, you're right. Actually, that probably does make it quite a bit easier to get in.
See the cut in, but that looks pretty cool with the doors open. So
it is cool, and they're sticking with that, aren't they? I know one of the other ideas was having the sort of gull wing doors where they go straight up, but they've stuck with this kind of scissor action.
Yeah.
They come up, but they also go in a little bit.
Wonder how practical it is. Any front space or probably none.
Yeah. I doubt it will have anything. It is my feeling.
Yeah.
I bet it doesn't have any room for luggage.
Yeah. Not a glove box. Nothing. We'll see.
Yeah. I don't know whether the LAF had.
Probably not.
Luggage space.
Bare minimum. Somewhere to put your phone.
Yeah.
And a credit card.
But again, it's, it is going to be on track, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're not going to go travelling in that. I wouldn't have thought. But, some of these other models, you see F50s on tours.
Yeah. Well, again, it's down to the owner, isn't it? Some buy to use them, some buy to look at them. And
when you've got that kind of money, you send the luggage on ahead, I guess.
That is true. That's the way you rock and roll. But look, I think we've done it justice. Fascinating. I quite enjoyed doing a bit of homework and a bit of research.
Yeah.
You learn something new in these things.
Yeah,
but
the thing I took away that made me think properly was the total number seems like a lot, but actually if you add the apertas to the coupes on the LaFerrari, it isn't that many more.
No.
So I think it is still pretty low volume, isn't it? But, shocking that there's 800 customers, all with £3.1 million to spend on a car.
And again, I'd say all of those will already have quite the collection, no doubt, because that's...
Yeah, they could have a £50 million car collection, each one of those.
I did read somewhere, I can't remember, was the average owner of it might have been a Bugatti or something, they already own 30 cars or something.
Is that right? Is that
so
the
a Bugatti owner, it was a Bugatti, I'm making up the number, but...
How many have you ordered?
What's that?
F80s?
Just the one.
Have you have ordered one? When is it? Yeah. What colour did you go for?
Red. Rosso red.
Rosso red. You know what Rosso means, do you?
You're about to tell me.
Red.
Yeah.
So you've gone for red.
Yeah, as a red inside, red seat. Yeah, dinky or matchbox.
Okay.
As far as it's
Lego.
Go.
I think there'll be quite a few Lego models bought, won't there?
Yeah. Anyway, I think we've covered it. Interesting, good stuff.
Well, hopefully everyone's sort of had some enjoyment just hearing us chatting about the various elements of the F80. It's an astonishing looking car. I'm if nothing else, I am delighted that Ferrari have had were brave enough to make such a ridiculously great looking car.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ferrari.
Absolutely. And thank you, Greg. And it's nice to be back in the dimly lit studio.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in like a year here.
Right, nice.
I think it's been a year.
What, since you've been
in the dimly lit studio?
Yeah, gosh.
So time does fly, doesn't it?
It does. We've had a chat. We have other podcasts we'd like to do in a not too distant, which I think everybody will find interesting. So more to look forward to.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
Cheers, Colin.
Don't leave it so long next time, mate.
Can you get some lights installed in here so that I'm not?
Who said that?
Scrapping around in the dark.
Yeah, slips, trips, and falls everywhere in this place. I'm off duty now. It doesn't matter. Well, thank you, Greg. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will hopefully see you again.
See you on the next one.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Well done.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Goodbye.